In part 1, we took a look at the CSX Sanford subdivision and the first half of the Sunrail CFRC subdivision. Now and here in part 2, we'll continue down the A-line where we left off in downtown Orlando and continue south toward Lakeland. Robinson Street is at the milepost A790.0 where the SAL crossed the ACL at a diamond to access the Church Street station and move north to the branch line to Oviedo that was mentioned in the previous video. So that's where we'll start off. Starting off at the Robinson Street connection, this is where the Florida Central Railroad on ex-Seaboard Airline trackage connects onto the A-Line, ex-Atlantic Coastline track. The Florida Central does a 5 nights a week, Sunday through Thursday interchange to CSX at Taft Yard, 7 miles to our south. We're in the middle of Sunrail's territory, where CSX begins at the Poinciana holdout, south of us at the 813.8 milepost. Just south of the downtown Orlando is the Orlando Amtrak station. Built in 1926, this station has served the Atlantic Coastline, Seaboard Coastline, Amtrak, and now currently Sunrail trains. With 40 Sunrail and 4 Amtrak trains that use this 3-track station daily. Here we see the northbound Amtrak 98, the Silver Meteor, departing the station. Right next to the Amtrak station is CSX's Cayley Yard. Once a yard for manifest cars and locals, this yard is now primarily used for rock for Conrad Yelvington. On any weekday in the morning, you may find them switching cars here and unloading. CSX trains A780 and A775 also come to this yard in the nighttime, with A780 swapping empty rock for loads and 775 using this as a point to turn around his train and run back to Taft. Conrad Yelvington uses an SW1200 switcher and this Alco RS1. They mostly use the switcher, but I got lucky on this day to find them using the old Alco. Down now at the A797 milepost is Taft Yard. Built by the Seaboard Coastline Railroad in the 1970s, Taft has its general manifest yard, referred to as the West Yard, an auto rack ramp, and until 2014, an intermodal ramp. The intermodal operations were moved to Winter Haven, and I'm not going to get into that. But the freed space in the ramp gave the ability for TDSI to unload more vehicles in a day. Taft has a number of locals that originate here, as well as two mainline freights to and from Waycross, Georgia, Q455 and Q456. Here is one such local, A777, or 777. This local at the time worked two branch lines in Taft, this one being the Sexton Spur that branches out of the Taft West Yard to the west. This job is now handled by local A786. This branch's main customers are TMR Recycling and Sherwin-Williams. There are a few other customers here, like Chatham Steel, but the cars I see the most on this train are for TMR and Sherwin-Williams. Here we see A777 working the Regency Industrial Park, otherwise known as the RC branch. This is the local's first stop of the morning after departing Taft Yard around 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. This line sees hazmat cars for Brentag, hoppers for National Gypsum, as well as steel coil cars, center beams, and more covered hoppers. An industry on this line also likes to take ex-Amtrak material handling cars as well. The RC branch comes off the Middlesex siding located at the Stanton Y, at the milepost A800.0. This is also where tracks branch off to the main to the east toward Avalon Park's OUC Stanton Energy Center. The trains that take this route are the coal trains, and there will also be a spur to connect to the Brightline Virgin Trains USA here, starting with their Boggy Creek maintenance facility. Coal trains come and go here, starting at the ALK 0.0 and head up some 17 miles to the plant. The 25-mile-an-hour trip takes about 45 minutes to an hour. The Stanton branch is controlled by the CSXJA dispatcher, so trains operating on this line must get a track warrant to operate the line, just like in a majority of the Bone Valley. The spur to the Brightline facility will be around the milepost ALK 4.0. 8 miles south of Stanton is downtown Kissimmee and the Kissimmee Amtrak station. This is a nice spot to film the trains here day or night, and the new Sunrail platform provides really nice lighting for nighttime trains. The usual freight trains that travel here are coal trains and two locals, A798 from Taft to Poinciana, which does a round trip, and 0713 from Winston and Lakeland to Taft carrying rock, which is also a round trip. On average, this location sees about 46 to 47 trains a day depending, and that's counting between the Sunrail, the Amtrak, and the CSX movements. on the CSX Carter sub south of Poinciana, we get to our first siding at Davenport. Davenport is a short siding, less than 5,000 feet, with road crossings dividing up the siding, so not many times a train's set here. A local comes this way to service the two rock mines between here and Loftman Holdout to the north, Martin Marietta, and Standard Sand and Silica. That local train is 0738, which will be seen here on this day with two brand new, at the time, CSX SD70HT4s. Martin Marietta is inaccessible, but the sand mine has a real treat. An original SW7 still painted in the Atlantic Coastline Champion purple scheme, repainted back into its original livery back sometime in the 1980s. A few more miles is the siding at Haines City. This siding is larger than Davenport and is better to tie down and pass trains here, as seen with 0738 and Amtrak 98, who's heading north to New York. Haines City has a few artifacts of the past railroad, including a cantilever base still in the ground toward the middle of the siding, which I've not been able to figure out what exactly it was for. I don't know if the siding was shorter back then, or if it's for the yard. Haines City also had a yard, a freight depot, and a passenger station back in its day. All that's left now is the siding and a branch line down to Lake Harbor, which eventually ends, not making it all the way to Lake Harbor, and then another section of it still remains as the Florida Midland Railroad down board West Lake Wales. And we'll venture down to that short line operation later on, in another video. At the south end of the siding, the tracks swing west in a very nice curve. This is actually one of my favorite A-line spots on the CSX due to the curve and the elevated track, which always makes for a nice scene when a train coming through, especially freight. The A-line continues to Auburndale, where they cross the former Miami Subdivision from Coleman to Miami. The section from Coleman to Auburndale was removed in the 80s, and now only the line from Auburndale to Miami remains as the Auburndale sub to the RTA sub. One small section of the old Coleman sub exists for about a mile and a half going north of the Diamond. There's a connection on each side of the interlocking on the A-line. Seen here is Amtrak 91 taking the Auburndale connection to head south. Now moving over 10 miles east of Auburndale, we are in Downtown Lakeland, which is where we'll stop for today. This is where the A-line will split off to the north and become the Vitus Subdivision, which connects it to the Wildwood Subdivision at Vitus Junction, which is the S-line. Continuing west, this will become the Lakeland Sub to Tampa, and we'll cover that on the next video. Coming up off the hill at Winston Pass is 0738 with an old GE Warrior Dash 8 in the lead, en route to Davenport with rock loads for Martin Marietta. This might be the last time I ever get to see one of these machines in the lead. And that'll be it for our journey today. I hope you guys enjoyed this trip with me from the A790.0 in downtown Orlando down to the A750 in downtown Lakeland. If you guys like this video, please leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, and if you haven't seen part 1's over here somewhere down below. I'll leave a link to it at the end of this video. So until next time, we'll see you guys out there. Thank you for watching.